Welcome to What's Up with Bowling Green Winlectic. We're your go-to podcast for lighting tips, interior design insights, and expert advice on all things home, electrical, and design. Join us as we chat with local guests, electricians, and designers as we dive into the world of DIY tips, building ideas, and indoor-outdoor home solutions to help you create the perfect ambiance indoors and out. This is Sean Willis here with What's Up with Winlectic. This is our Season 2, Episode 1 of our podcast. Today we have with us Chief Lucas Tinsley of the Glasgow Fire Department. Chief, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
My name is Lucas Tinsley, born and raised in Scottsville. I've been the chief with Glasgow Fire Department for a little more than a year now. Been with Glasgow Fire since 2012. Formerly of Richmond Fire Department before that.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Well, what we asked you to come talk with us today about is kind of some wintertime fire safety, a little bit specifics about electrical usage and how that can be affected a little bit more entering the wintertime as we are now.
Okay. So, so typically, as far as winter operations are concerned, there's not a lot of changes that happen within the fire department. We still report for duty, lead our daily tasks, train daily. And, we may have more precautionary measures because of inclement weather or road conditions. But wintertime is a typical upkick in the year for the potential for fires in our profession.
Right. And from electrical wholesale, which is the job that I'm in, we will typically see upticks in people coming in to request different size breakers to put in their home, to change out from a smaller breaker to a larger breaker, thinking, oh, I can reduce these trips that I'm having in my home. What is some basic information about that you can share with our fans?
Well, typically, when your home is built, your breaker size is based on your wiring size.
Yep.
And, overloading that wiring, even with a larger breaker, you're just setting yourself up for some major issues.
Yeah. I typically like to tell people that those two things are married together. If you try to put in a larger breaker, you're not going to have that tripping issue anymore, but then it's probably not an issue of if, but when that's going to cause an electrical fire.
Very true.
Yeah. And so what are some of the most common winter-related house fires, the reasons for those that you guys end up responding to?
Well, most common type of house fire across the nation, almost any time of year, there is an upkick, even in the winter, is cooking. Unattended cooking fires is a major one. With that being said, kind of a second leading cause is going to be your heating usage, heating elements, and so on and so forth in the winter months.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've heard people who work in your industry, so to speak, talk about how space heaters in the wintertime are a big issue. Do you guys see that happening?
We do see space heater issues from time to time, along with fireplaces, wood burning stoves. But space heaters, most of the time it's a user error. Too close to combustible or ignitable materials, not plugging directly into the wall outlet, using extension cords, power strips, things of that sort. Maybe using an older model of space heater that doesn't have that tip over protection.
Yeah, that's safe.
So, we do see that from time to time.
Yeah, unfortunately, some in our community don't have the finances available to have central heat and air. One of the main reasons I wanted to have you on is to try to help people understand that there's some basic safety things that you can try to use and put in place to help prevent those things. The easiest one that I know of is not using an extension cord with a space heater.
That, and again, sitting too close to ignitable materials, leaving a space heater running while you're not in the room or while you're sleeping, so it's unattended, can also be a big issue.
Gotcha. Now, obviously, we're a little past the holidays, but I know it's always good to mention briefly about safety revolving around Christmas trees and things like that. Would you like to touch on that?
Yeah, as far as live trees are concerned, definitely ways to treat that tree. Make sure that you're keeping it watered every day. Once Christmas is over, get it out of the house very quickly. Make sure that you're checking your Christmas tree lighting to make sure you don't have bare exposed wiring. And again, trying not to do what they call pigtailing or daisy chaining extra extension cords together or one power strip to another power strip, things of that sort, because you're going to end up overloading a circuit.
Yeah, I know from personal experience that back before I was in the industry I'm in now, that I kind of assumed for whatever reason that every power strip was a surge strip, right?
Right.
And obviously that is not the case. Some of them are just there to give you extra outlets to plug into that give you no benefit as far as overload or surge protection.
They do not add that protection factor at all. Not.
Yeah. So, what kind of warning signs, as far, I'd kind of like to focus a little bit more on the electrical side of things. What kind of warning signs should a homeowner never ignore as far as their electrical system?
Well, again, it's just paying attention to what's going on. If your outlet feels warm, the cord that you've got plugged into your outlet feels like it's almost hot to touch, that could be an issue of impending problems. Those breakers that keep tripping that you just keep trying to throw back on, seeing if you can, it's best to take a step back. If you know there is no fire, get in touch with an actual certified electrician to come and inspect, see what's going on, see if they can guide you in the right direction or do some upgrades for you. If you're not sure if it's got hot enough or smoldering fire behind the wall, get out of the house, call 911.
Yeah, I think our society has gotten so tied to personal items that we will literally risk our life to go back in and get things, even though we know there might be an active fire there. And that just shocks me.
So, it's one of the things that we focus a lot when we talking with young school age kids. The whole idea is get out and stay out. The stuff in that house, yes, it may have a lot of sentimental value. It may be very important to you, but no more. It's not worth your life.
Right. Those things can be replaced. Even the things that we say are not replaceable can, in my opinion, be replaced with something else.
In a lot of cases.
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to touch on as well is another life safety device. We kind of talked about a little things that could have been maybe considered life safety device, but in particular, smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors.
Okay.
Could you tell our audience a little bit about obvious things like why that's really important, but also how they nowadays all kind of work together with one another?
Right. Smoke detectors save lives. It's proven itself time and time again. Your one alert, your first alert to a problem that's happening in your house.
Right.
You get that, you hear the stories, well, if I've got a fire in my house while I'm asleep, I'll smell the smoke or I'll smell that. Well, sense of smell actually shuts down while you're sleeping. So that audible alert from your smoke detector is that sign that's telling you there is a problem. Get out of the house.
Right.
It's important to make sure that you do have smoke detectors in your home, that they are working properly, that you've changed the batteries, change your clock, change your battery, and that if you're running any kind of natural gas or propane appliances in your home, that a carbon monoxide detector is a must.
Yes. I have literally had customers complain to me in the past about that it's required to have smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors in their house. And I'm literally like, man, this might literally be the only thing in your house that is truly a life safety device. And I cannot understand putting a price on a human life like that. But that, people are just, it's about the dollar sometimes.
Well, sometimes it may be about the dollar. Sometimes it may be about the nuisance because they haven't changed their detectors or they got the food a little hot while they were cooking and it did cause the smoke detectors to go off. But they are there for a very important reason, and that is to save your life. So keep them up and
fun fact that many people don't know is that pretty much any smoke detector on the market is only good for 10 years because of whatever, and I don't even claim to understand what it is that's in there that detects it, but for whatever's inside of that that can accurately detect the fire is present from the smoke or whichever type it is, it's only good for 10 years.
Right. So it's always important that as you, if you built a new home, that to make sure that your smoke detectors are dated whenever you go into your house. If you go out and you buy new smoke detectors, that you put a date on their install, and you'll know one of these days if it keeps acting up, check the date. It could be past that 10-year expiration.
Yeah. I'd been selling smoke detectors probably 10 years before I ever even knew that was the case, and I was just like, I've told people before, oh, if you're not getting the chirping or whatever, there's no need to reply. And I was just shocked, and I felt bad about the fact that I was telling people incorrectly. So, I'm glad to have learned that, and now I'm glad to share that with our audience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, would you have any other benefits or quick suggestions you could share with the audience of other things to be mindful of, whether it be wintertime or spring or summer, of, just ways to keep them safe?
Again, making sure that you have properly working smoke detectors in your home. If you have young children, pets around, especially in the winter months, if you're going to be running those space heaters, pay attention. You have kids that may not understand that they don't need to be getting too close, or what happens if it's knocked over. Try to look for appliances if you're out buying new that have that third-party testing sticker, Under Armour Laboratories, Factory Mutual, so on and so forth, saying that it's tested and the appliance does what it's supposed to do.
Right. Another thing just popped up in my head. I know that a lot of people don't actually have a fire extinguisher in their home. Is that something that you guys highly suggest?
Hey, it is definitely suggested, because of the cooking fires or the grease fires. You're not supposed to put water on a grease fire, but we do see people that will attempt that from time to time. Always having an extinguisher and that you know how to use it is always a good thing to have on hand.
Yeah, you don't have to have one of the giant ones like you
It
see
does not
in
always take
commercial
a giant
facilities.
one. No,
They sell little bitty handheld ones, and
Yeah.
I've got one of those in my kitchen. But actually, my wife is super, super safety conscious, and she had seen some videos of this thing. I think it's like a hero blanket or something, but it's a little blanket that comes in a pouch, and you pull it out of the bottom of the pouch, and you can throw it over a kitchen fire.
Yes, they do have some fire blankets out there. They've even created fire blankets in response to the electrical vehicle fires, blankets that are big enough to actually cover vehicles.
Oh, wow.
To help keep those from going past the point of that vehicle.
Sure.
Igniting the next vehicle over or some of that stuff.
I think one last thing I wanted to touch on is actually Savannah that's here with us. She sent me a picture the other day of when she was picking her daughter up from her parents' house. She walked in the door and she smelled some smoke, and she was like, "What's that?" And they go into the kitchen, and there was a phone cord that was laying on the countertop, that the end of the phone cord had started melting and burning a hole into the countertop. Do you guys, as a department, recommend for people to unplug your phone cords? Because I've actually heard of people losing their homes where it started from a phone cord.
If you're using a phone cord or phone charger, extension cords, things like that, it's always good when you're done using it, unplug it.
Okay.
Unplug it.
Yeah, that's really scary to think that something that we all use every single day could end up, causing you to lose your home or your life.
Absolutely.
Well, just to kind of close, as you kind of mentioned before, if something doesn't seem right, don't ignore it. I want to make sure that it's almost like when we had the big campaigns decades ago about heart attacks, some little signs for that. And the same thing can apply to, potential fires in the home. And, fire safety is about prevention, not reaction. I like that. That's a good thing to keep in mind, because almost all of the things that you mentioned were about prevention. Hopefully, it's something that those preventative items would never actually have to be used. That would be the goal of everything. But if they had been used, they did their job.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have anything else to add, Chief, then
I appreciate your time. Thank you for the opportunity to get a couple of these safety tips out there.
I really appreciate your time coming on. I hope that the biggest hopes and dreams for me for this podcast is to engage a large number of people from a lot of different avenues in the community, and try to get things like this out to everyone. So hopefully we can learn.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate your time.